Oh, they should have unloaded.
Yeah, it wasn't one. We'll see if I read it tonight on the other.
You guys had a big birthday.
Yeah, she took her first steps on Christmas. And about 2 days ago, she's now decided on another walk and crawl. I think, not the end of this month, but Valentine's Day should be running.
You know, Rodney never walks. He stood up and we thought he was gonna walk and he took off running. Cause the other were having a little kid's birthday party and he just started running. They still live with you still? Yeah, so you don't have to miss any of that stuff.
No, they're in the basement pretty much. We try to give them their space, because I don't want them to go pay rent. This is save your money. You're not buying it. It has a bathroom and a kitchen, so they can do what they do. Friday night, 1 to 2 inches of snow. Okay, I can live with that.
Huh?
Well, I'll try to watch how much snow we're supposed to get on Friday, because
Oh, how much
things
are we
to-
going away?
1 to 2 right now. No, I have a forestry monster coming on Monday.
Oh.
And I called him, I said, does that thing have a cab on it, and is it heated? Yes, I'm like, will it perform in 0-degree weather? Oh, yeah, no problem. I said, all right, I'm game, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be pushing through a foot of snow either way.
No.
Hey, you wanna go down to that again?
When is it?
The State House Day,
Yeah, who's that?
February the 6th on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it beats going to Red Star. I can wait.
Okay. Anyway, it says 8:30 is registration, and I think there's no charge, but I think we can go in and just say we're coming. I think that's what we have to do. It's kind of neat, Deb. You go down there and you go through this, it came in, it should have come on your
Oh, yeah,
email.
yeah.
Registration, and then you have the briefings, and you get to eat lunch, and we ate lunch with snow, didn't we?
Yeah.
That last time. So it's interesting. I like going.
You just look for the free meals, George.
I do. I
Isn't
look,
that the same place?
yeah, it's at the Hyatt.
So I
Hyatt
can remember how we
Regency.
parked. Remember last time we wandered around the whole place trying to find out?
Find the parking.
I think we're in the
Says-
wrong building.
Yeah. And it's at the Hyatt Regency. And it looks like Regency AB Ballroom is where the breakfast and stuff, so everything's probably right there. And then we left, we didn't go over to the State House to be in a group photo. Oh, Lord. So, we'll nominate you for the finance guy. I am. And her for president. And Deb can, you know, I hate to nominate her, but I don't want to. So I think, well, we'll just do it this way. Now, the only difference would be if you want her to be secretary of the board instead of you. Oh, okay.
I've already discussed that.
Oh, you've already discussed
Hi,
it.
everybody.
How are you?
Happy New Year.
Yes, you too.
Yes.
Here's your, like, script.
Okay,
If there's media people here, if, you know, bring it up. If there's not, you can
how am I gonna know?
Because you'll look up at me and I'll go.
Okay.
First on the agenda is election of officers, nominations for the board of members will not be taken from the floor. They'll put it forward.
You too. I was
You know, and then you
vacation.
can put
Nice.
Scott,
A little
and
chillier
boys-
there than
Deb,
normal,
have
but
your,
not like it
you know,
was.
whatever.
Boys have a
Just
good time?
The boys
For
had
you
a
to
great
keep
time.
track of.
That's good.
They
Are
had
there
a
any
great
other
time.
nominations? The nominations will now close. You'll call for a vote.
Hmm?
If it's not you, you can, you know, you can say that what the vote is. If it's not you,
When I
we'll turn it
nominate
over to
her,
them.
somebody has to second it.
And
Yeah, I'll ask
you'll
for,
go on
I'll
to the
open the
next
floor for nominations.
nomination.
And when nominations made, I'll ask for a
If you're,
second.
you know,
When a second is
regardless.
made, I'll
Okay.
close it.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
we'll
Right.
go for a vote.
Okay.
Yes,
So-
if it's not, yeah, unless it's you.
That's why I say, I want,
Community, Board of Finance.
Board of Finance.
again, as soon as I say
So
nominate,
there's
before you
the-
get finished the word
I don't.
nominated, because
the agenda.
now she's the first nominated. So if
That's
somebody
all of
else
that,
says, I can go to the
with,
first
with
one,
everything
then she'll be put in, everything is.
included.
forget that. I want to move on.
Okay.
Following, so, yeah.
Okay.
So, yes, nomination second, I'll ask for him a motion, but once that's,
Okay.
she's the first one.
And
Then we'll go over there. And then we'll go up to him.
Okey-doke.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Yeah, I think- sounds like they did something.
For the finance, you talked about.
Yeah.
Inquiry.
I think that's what
Who's that?
You got a pen?
Is that girl Inquiry?
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that Samantha Coburn individual, sitting right in my frickin' seat.
Okay.
Okay, you got your script, and then Tim's got his script.
Only two
And then-
board members, every board to attend to contain costs.
Yeah, and when it gets down to
Because
here,
they do.
Then Tim-
reimburse
if
yeah.
it's still needed, I
The-
can do it.
Correct, and with the same,
And if
you know,
it's
asking for
somebody else,
nominations,
they
yeah,
do that.
right. No, you would say the 2024 president does the rest of the
Right.
meeting. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So
Where is
Scott-
everybody?
Huh?
Where is everybody?
They decided not to come.
I guess, hi there.
So, if you
Oh,
go in on
I said,
your
"Where's
email
everybody?"
and say you're coming,
there you go.
I'll go in and say I'm
Looks
coming.
like that's working.
You can
Okay.
drive my car if you want to.
Okay, we'll figure something out.
Yeah. Leave early, 6:30, 7, be there at 8:30.
Okay.
Student of the month pages in
That's,
there.
yeah, that's the set. Did you have a good first birthday with that little baby?
Yeah, she's starting to
She's so
choose
cute.
to walk over crawl now, so she's just not real steady, but she's
trying.
Yeah. She got a little kitchenette for Christmas,
Oh.
and she loves that refrigerator and freezer. She's in there all the time.
I saw, yeah, I saw Mom and Dad someplace, and they said that was just her favorite thing was this kitchenette.
I was expecting her to just play with the wrapping paper in the boxes,
Right.
but she actually went to
But
that
she
toy,
liked
and
that.
that's the one she locked in.
That's neat.
She's in there looking for deer summer sausage.
And it'll, the light will come on and it'll buzz at you if you don't shut the door, which is,
Yeah.
she doesn't know what that means, but it just annoys me.
You get to start.
Unless you have real interest to go to this, Scott and I will go to this 6th Annual State House Day. It's on Tuesday, February 6th at the Hyatt Regency. It doesn't cost us anything to go. And they pay a stipend of $35 to a assist with parking and fuel expenses. We've gone before, but if you have a burning desire to go, okay. We would let you.
Thank you for that.
Grief, it's thick, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's thick.
I think it's got all of Lynn's
Hmm?
stuff. I think it's got Lynn's stuff in it.
Oh, probably. Oh, yeah. You get the paper, the Warsaw paper.
What there is of it.
Okay, well, today.
Okay, we'll
they
get
have-
started now. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to the January 10th, 2024 reorganizational meeting of the Whitko Community School Corporation Board of Finance meeting. I'm Scott Worsler, the 2023 Board of Finance President. Can we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Point of order, Mr. Worsley. Could you repeat the date? I thought I heard you say January 10th.
Correct.
Okay, we'll make sure.
I do not believe we have any media present tonight. So moving on, first on the agenda is the election of officers. I'd like to have nominations for the Board of Finance President, and these will now be taken on the floor.
I'll nominate Scott Worsler.
I'll second that.
Do we have any other nominations? Okay, the nominations will now close. All those in favor of Scott Worsler for Board of Finance President, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The vote is 4 for and 1 against for Scott Worsler for Board of Finance President. Scott Worsler is the 2024 Board of Finance President. So now I would like to move into the election of Board of Finance Vice President. Do we have any nominations for 2024 Vice President?
I would nominate Deb Thomas for the Vice President for the Finance Committee.
I'll second it.
Do we have any other nominations? Okay, the nominations will now close. All those in favor of Deb Thomas for Board of Finance Vice President, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is the election of the Board of Finance Secretary. Do we have any nominations for Board of Finance Secretary?
I would nominate Lynn Studebaker for the Board of Finance Secretary.
I'll second. Do we have any other nominations? Okay, the nominations will now close. All those in favor of Lynn Studebaker for Board of Finance Secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. I believe that's all of our elections. Now we'd like to do the review of the investment policy, and that would be done by our business manager, Mr. Lynn Liniger. So I turn it over to you.
You should have all these forms with you tonight, but the first one I want to go over is the investment policy. The board policy for the investment policy is 6144, and that's kind of what I'm going to go over today with this first page here. Just wanted to highlight the fact that our interest the last 5 years, I have each year's interest for the annual interest for the whole corporation, and it's been around $30,000 to $40,000 per year. And with interest rates increasing and with the opportunity to purchase some CDs this last year in 2023, we were able to get $301,000 of interest this 1 year. I have that broke out by each bank, how much we got by monthly for each one of the banks and our deposits that we have at those banks. And then the far right column highlights the interest that we received on our CD investments. We bought one in March for $3 million, and then we turned around after June, after that matured, and bought another one for $3 million in September. And then towards the end of the year, in September, we turned around and bought a $5 million CD, and that's the interest rates that came from that. For the year, we had $138,000 from CD interest, and then the various banks made up the $301,000 total interest amount. At the bottom of that sheet, then, I went ahead and showed what our beginning balance was with each one of the banks for Star, Crossroads, and Lake City. Crossroads and Lake City we use for the high school in South Whitley down. We use Crossroads for our bank for a depository for lunch accounts and other deposits. And then in Pierceton, we use Lake City Bank for the same thing for the lunch accounts and other types of deposits at the elementary school. So we started the year out with almost $2 million in Crossroads and another $1 million in Lake City. When we got to March there, we purchased a $3 million CD out of Star, but we also did a movement away from Crossroads and from Lake City to the higher earning interest in Star Bank. We moved $2,910,000 from the other two banks into Star Bank to get a higher return of interest. Crossroads and Lake Cities are primarily a depository type of bank account, so there's no expenses going out of that. So we're just increasing the bank balances over time. So we moved it over to our higher earning Star. And at the end of 2023, that was our ending balances for the three banks. We closed out our CD in December. We had $10 million in Star, about $100,000 in Lake City and Crossroads. So any questions on the interest breakdown or
Pretty good.
investing? Okay.
And then the next item is the financial condition review, and that's also have you tagged for that, so go ahead and continue.
Okay, this presentation is spelled out every year by our board policy 0151.1. What is used to review our financial viability is to look at a site that's been set up through the state. It's called the Distress Unit Appeals Board, and they come out with this report every January for all schools throughout the state. The actual board itself is a state board set up through members from the Office of Management and Budget, State Board of Accounts, Department of Education, and Department of Local Government Finance. They serve as a board for political subdivisions throughout the state to help them if they have petitions for support or need for financial distress. And they also monitor all the financial health of all the schools throughout the state. So on this first page there, right above where it says note, is the actual link that you can click on, and you'll pull up this Distress Unit Appeals Board website, and you can then select any unit throughout the state as far as schools go, and it's a uniform way of reporting the financial condition, and they use financial indicators to try to help out the schools to help them see their financial status. Specifically, if a school is experiencing some financial problems or distress, they use this indicators to help determine that. So this goes for the end of 2022 school year, or calendar year. So this information is all pretty much 1 year in arrears because the end of 23 hasn't been finalized yet. So this is something that comes out in January, reporting for the end of 2022. And it talks there about the average daily membership. As you can see, the green and the blue represents the fall and the spring counts. And you can see the trend that it's gone down over the last several years, but then it's kind of leveled off here the last 2 or 3 years, even though it has declined somewhat. A caveat about that is the fact that the state has their biennium budget, and they always put more funding into the schools throughout the state. So even though our ADM is leveled off, we got almost $600,000 of new money this last biennium period. So, and that's what we used when we were talking negotiations with the staff. The next page is a fund balance, and it's kind of a busy page, but basically it shows that in 2019, the state kind of moved away from the way they've used to do budgets with a separate capital projects fund, a separate debt service fund, a separate bus replacement, and they moved more to the educational fund, which started in 2019, and that was set up only to receive in money from the basic grant dollars from the state. And there's no tax dollars locally that go into the education fund. It all comes from the state support. And that's only supposed to be used for expenses primarily in the classroom. The teachers, the aides, supplies needed all in the classroom. And then the operation fund absorbed a lot of the other funds. It's more for the support to the learning experience. It's the bus drivers, it's the custodians, it's the IT department. Anything that helps support learning, that's put into the operation fund. So just a general statement on that, 19 through 22, you'll see those two funds showing the most amount of fund balance because all the money's going to support the expenses out of those funds. Bottom of that page, or the next page as he has it here, is the annual deficit surplus. So this is for all of the funds, not just the two main funds, but all our federal grants, all of our, any kind of funds we have in the corporation as a total. It shows by year, out of each calendar year, there's a left column that has the revenue and the right column has the expenses, and then it just shows with the yellow if it's a surplus or a deficit for that year, meaning that we received more or received less than what we spent for the entire year. And in 2022, we had a slight decrease. In 21, we had a slight surplus.
Does this also show where you have been giving funds from the education fund to the operations fund?
It does. That is highlighted with those little blurbs at the top of those.
So we now spend more money on operations than education?
On the all, this is the all right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at this
Oh, you're looking at the next one?
right there, 2022.
Yes,
We went
yes.
from spending more
Yes.
money on education to more money on operations.
Correct. And when we negotiate and we do negotiations, we only take a look at the new basic grant money to support everything out of that. So even if you're like in the operations or you're in the education fund, you're getting the new money from the basic grant in that. So you may be placed over here or here, but that's where that comes from.
Right, but we choose.
So if you have, oh, go ahead, sorry.
But we're choosing every month to give money from education to the operations fund.
Absolutely, yes, yes. The next page is the education fund. And there you'll see that we had more expenditures in the operation, in the education fund than we did revenue. And you'll see that the red amount is talking about the exceptions. That is the portion that we transfer over to operations to cover the expenses in the operations. And then you look down here at the operation fund. If you look at the first column, the revenue does not support our expenditures in 22. So that's why we have to make that transfer to cover our overall cost. All the equipment, all the utilities, and all the staff I mentioned in there. If we didn't have that transfer coming in 22, we would be losing money and have a lot of deficit in that account. Even with that money being moved over, we do have a surplus, but that's the only way we would have that. We wouldn't have enough money to cover our expenses with the revenue supporting through taxes. And that is limited by the tax dollars you can raise in the
Is this
operation
because
fund.
of the inflation situation that we have right now? with the
Inflation
inflated
and
gas
assessed value,
prices.
or? Oh.
No, as far as like gas.
Yeah, there's all the costs with gas, all the transportation costs, all utilities, yeah.
Salaries are in there, right?
What's that?
Administration salaries are in there, correct?
The principals and stuff are out of education. The superintendent is out of operation. Anybody in central office is out of operation. That's just how they set it up, is it? I guess when they established it, they felt that the principal was directly involved with the education of the students. That part stays in education fund.
And when they, when they set up the, from 5 silos to the 2 silos, the state knew that this was going to happen, right? So that
Right. They built that into
they
the
built in the
law.
ability to transfer funds from one to the other. And isn't there a range that is either allowed or recommended?
Yeah, you cannot transfer more, but you can actually transfer if you had it. If you were sitting well with your operation, you could transfer back to education. But 99% of the schools need the money over in operations, so they transfer. Up to 15% can be transferred over
Up to 15%. And how
Yeah.
much did we transfer over?
And we're-
It was 11?
At this year, we're at 700,000, which I think is like 8%.
8?
And for '24, we did increase that, and it's going to be like 11% transferred from basic grant over to, or education over to operation.
Okay.
Did I hear you say that 90% of schools do this?
Yes, I mean, I say like 90% of the schools do the transfer from education over to operation because they don't have the money to support it through their tax dollars, so it comes through the basic grant funding.
So just to be clear, they didn't used to allow transfer between the silos. And when they revamped all that, then they allow this transfer, which we're still 4% below the state ceiling, which is basic school finance rules and regulations that we're falling into correctly. And administrators are not paid out of that, they're paid out of education. So it has nothing to do with the imbalance of administrator salaries. Thank you.
So the next page is the fund balance as a percent of the operation expenditures. This is there again, the first slide is everything. It's for all our funds. A good rule of thumb is try to be 40 to 50% of your total expenditures you want to have in cash balance. So basically not quite a half year or half a year of cash balance to fund your day-to-day operations. Because of the flow of cash coming in sporadically, that's always a kind of a rule of thumb. So the last 4 years, we've been at roughly 50% for all of our funds. The next page is the education fund. As you can see, the fund balance as a percent of the expenditures has been between 30 and 40. It actually went down in 2022. I know for 2023, for instance, we added roughly $900,000 to our cash balance from the beginning of the year to the end. So you'll see when we do this next year at this time, you'll see that that percent is a higher movement up. So, and then down below is the operation. And one of the components that's not showing up here is that we do have 71% into the fund balance of operation for 2022, but that's in large part due to the fact that we had 3 buses at the end of 22 that we hadn't even purchased. We had those expenditures, those obligations out there, but because of the supply chain, we could not purchase them until this year. So they're running about a year behind. So part of that 71% would be the $300,000 of buses that we did not actually buy, but we had that obligation, so that's where that jump up in the percentage of cash balance. Next slide is revenue by type, and there again it starts with all funds. The blue line runs through there is kind of the width of that, tells you how much is made up of state revenue, state dollars from the state. It's been pretty consistent moving across. And then the bottom part is the actual local tax revenue, which has pretty much leveled across as the same amount, one running across the bottom of this scale. Education fund is the next slide, and that just reiterates the fact that we get all our money to fund education through the basic grant, through state dollars. Very little comes from other sources. And then the operation fund, all that's supported through local tax revenue. And then we have the revenue by type for debt service, and that kind of simulates the same thing as operation fund, all of it's coming from tax dollars. The last slide I always include, we don't have a operational referendum in place. Some schools that aren't able to fund everything, their operations and everything out of the operation fund, out of the education fund, they would then have to go with a referendum to the taxpayers to say, we need this extra tax boost to fund our overall operations. And it's a good thing not to have that, so I just want to point that out. We don't have a referendum currently. Some neighboring schools do, but we don't. So we're able to operate within our state and local revenues to fund everything. Any questions further? Or?
No, very good.
Okay.
Thank you. That concludes the items I have on the agenda for the Board of Finance meeting. I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn this portion of the meeting.
I second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. Welcome to the January 10th, 2024 reorganizational meeting of the Whitko Community School Corporation Board of School Trustees. I'm Superintendent Dick Barney, who will conduct this meeting until the election of the school board president. First on the agenda is the election of officers. Nominations for school board president will now be taken from the floor.
I nominate Annette Arnold.
Second.
I have a nomination for Annette Arnold as school board president. Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a second. Are there any other nominations? Nominations will now close. The nominations will now close. All those in favor of Annette Arnold for school board president, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The vote is 4 for and 1 for against for Annette for school board president. Annette Arnold has been reelected for 2024 school board president. I now turn the meeting over to our president.
Thank you, Mr. Pivarnik. We are going to elect our board vice president at this time, and I will take nominations from the floor for this.
I nominate Georgia Tenney.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? We will now close the nominations. We have a nomination to elect Georgia as our vice president. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of Georgia being our vice president, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. We will now elect the school board secretary, and I will take nominations from the floor for that.
I nominate Scott Worsler.
I second.
Are there any other nominations? It's been properly moved and seconded that Scott be the board secretary. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of Scott being our board secretary this year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes 4-1. In 5.0, we have our regular meeting dates. We do have a list of those attached to this packet. If you want to take a second to look those over. It is recommended that the board regularly meet the third Monday of each month at 6:30 p.m. with locations at the Whitko Career Academy Lecture Room, except for the February meeting, which is the fourth Monday of the month. Work sessions are recommended for the second Monday of each month. I'm sorry, shouldn't that say Wednesday? Teresa?
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
That should say one.
Shouldn't that say Wednesday for the work sessions? I think that's a typo.
Yes.
Okay, so let's cross out Monday and put Wednesday. So work sessions are recommended the second Wednesday of each month at 4 o'clock, meeting in the Whitko Career Academy tap room generally. Otherwise, at the junior, senior high in March and September, at Pearson Elementary in April and October, and at South Whitley Elementary in May and November. Could I get a motion to accept our regular meeting times, dates, and locations?
I move that we accept them as presented.
I second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the regular meeting dates, times, and locations as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion passes. In 6.0, we have the board salary and benefits. It is recommended the School Board of Trustees' annual salary be $2,000 plus $27 per meeting. Maximum rates for school board members are $2,000 a year, and maximum is $112 for regular meetings and $62 for other meetings, such as special meetings, executive sessions, and committee meetings. For us, it's recommended that we do $27 for each of those meetings. Could I get a motion to accept the board salary and benefits as presented?
I move that we accept the board salary and benefits as presented.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the board salary and benefits as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion passes. In 7.0, we have treasurer and deputy treasurer. It is recommended that Lynn Leininger be appointed as our treasurer and Shelley Montague be appointed as the deputy treasurer for the 2024 calendar year. Can I get a motion for that, please?
I move that we accept the treasurer and deputy treasurer as noted on the 7.1.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the treasurer and deputy treasurer as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion passes. 8.0 is our purchasing agent. It is recommended that Lynn Leininger be appointed as purchasing agent for the 2024 school year. Is there any, can I get a motion, please, for that?
I move that we accept Lynn Leininger as, to be appointed as the purchasing agent for 2024.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that Lynn Leininger be appointed as our purchasing agent for 2024. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion passes. 9.0 is the HIPAA privacy officer. It is recommended that Tim Pavarnik and Teresa Carano be appointed as HIPAA privacy officers for the 2024 year. Could I get a motion, please?
I move that Tim Pavarnik and Teresa Carano be appointed as HIPAA privacy officers for the 2024 year.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that Tim Pavarnik and Teresa Carano be appointed as HIPAA privacy officers for the 2024 year. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion passes. 10.0 is the school board attorney. It is recommended that John Whiteleather of Bloom, Gates, Shipman, and Whiteleather LLP be appointed as the school board attorney for the 2024 year. Could I get a motion, please?
I move that we appoint John Whiteleather of Bloom, Gates, Shipman, and Whiteleather LLP be appointed as school board attorney for the year of 2024.
I second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded that John Whiteleather of Bloom, Gates, Shipman, and Whiteleather LLP be appointed as our school board attorney. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion passes. In 11.0, we have the authorization to appoint members. It is recommended the school board president appoints members to committees and/or organizations as necessary. Could I get a motion on that, please?
I move that the school board president may appoint members to committees.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the school board president should appoint members to committees and organizations as necessary. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion passes. In 12.0, we have the Indiana School Board Association Liaison. The board will choose a board member as the school board liaison to the Indiana School Board Association. Georgia has volunteered to do this. Does anyone else want to volunteer? All right, then I would accept a motion to appoint Georgia as our school board liaison to the Indiana School Board Association.
I move that we choose Georgia as the board member, as the liaison to the school board, Indiana School Board Association.
It's been properly moved and seconded that Georgia be the liaison to the Indiana School Board Association. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion passes. 13.0 is the mileage rate. It is recommended the school corporation adopt the IRS mileage rates for the use of cars, vans, pickups, or panel trucks. Currently, this is 67 cents a mile, and this rate may change during the year. Can I get a motion to accept this, please?
I move that we accept the current rate of 67 cents per mile for the school corporation for the use of cars, vans, pickups, or panel trucks.
I second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the rate of 67 cents per mile as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion passes. Miscellaneous board items is 14.0. A work session does follow this meeting immediately, and it will be held in the tap room. The next school board meeting is scheduled for this coming Monday, January 15th at 6:30, right here in this room. I would accept a motion to adjourn this portion of our meeting.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn this portion of our meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. This portion of our meeting is adjourned. We will now move to the tap room.